now we're switching to the artificial intelligence category finalists. Please welcome Glenn Pingul, VP Scientific Marketing Strategies, Amplero USA. Over to you.
Kaisho, everyone. I think that means hello in Basque, but I'm not totally sure. I'm Glenn Pingul, and I run the scientific marketing strategy practice at Amplero. We're a software company based in Seattle, and I work with our enterprise clients around the world to run artificial intelligence marketing campaigns. I want to share an example of one of the campaigns we ran for a client of ours that we think is very innovative and really leverages AI. But first, what I'd like to do is kind of set the stage and context. We work with enterprise clients, and they have data. They have lots and lots of data. This data tells a story of each customer's behavior, and this data helps anticipate customers' needs. This data can also help our enterprise customers build relationships with customers. But, as a lot of you know, no customer is an island. We work with Sprint Wireless in the United States, and we've worked with them for the past couple of years to help them transform their business using data. In that time, we have run over 80 different campaign strategies. We've created and tested over 1,500 unique experiences, leveraged 48 different data feeds, created over 900 customer attributes, and we delivered ROI on the campaigns of about 650%. But like any great client, they're never satisfied, and they wanted more from us. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to know what the social impact of the campaigns we ran were on their customers. They basically wanted to know, what does it mean that no customer is an island? So what was the challenge? The challenge was to leverage their data in the form of trying to drive better retention. And the strategy was to not only target the customers that you normally target in marketing, but understand the influence on customers connected to the customer we targeted. We primarily used the SMS channel, which I'll talk about later is why that's a great channel for mobile, but we also ran campaigns in email. And the success metric, as I said, was to measure the retention effect on what we'll call the focal, but also understand the effect beyond the focal. So as I said, enterprise clients have lots of data. They have lots of rich data. And this example here basically shows you the kind of data we collected for Sprint. On the right-hand side, what you'll see is basically your kind of standard data. We carry profile data, demographic data, handset data, tenure, information like that. We also collect data around Sprint's customers' payment patterns, et cetera. We understand where they're using their network, whether it's voice or SMS. But what's really interesting is when we drill down into the data on the left-hand side. And what this is basically an individual customer's longitudinal plot. What it shows you at the top is basically their payment patterns, when they pay over time. And then below that, what you'll see is their voice calling minutes per day. We basically monitor every event and timestamp it. So we know whether a customer is making an outbound call, an inbound call, whether that call is off-net, whether it's on-net, and we even know the duration of those calls. Likewise, we do the same thing for SMS. So we know whether people are using MS for off-net, on-net, and the degree of texting they're doing. And of course, given we're in a 4G world, we also calculate that for their data consumption. And we even know whether they're using 4G or, heaven help them, 3G. But what's interesting is we also collect data around kind of what we call their voice degree and their SMS degree. And so Sprint wanted to know, well, that's kind of cool. You're actually collecting this data that actually gives us a sense of how customers communicate with others, because basically wireless is a communication vehicle. So what we did was we basically saw if we could connect that data. And this example here shows you how we did that. This is an example of one customer in the center, which we'll call the focal, in the blue. And you can see the calling patterns this person has over time. Those black dots represent people who have churned in their network. The gray dots represent people that they're contacting voice off-net. And the colors represent other Sprint brands who they're calling. As you can see, this customer's, over time, you saw this customer's, there's calling pattern increase, but at the end, you saw that they turned to black, meaning that they churned. So what did we do with all this data? How did we harness it? What we did basically was run this rich data in our platform, And what we do with Amplero is we basically take the data, we enrich it by clustering it, and we do unsupervised clustering of the data to kind of see patterns. And we can do that because we have this longitudinal behavioral exhaust of the customers. And then we marry it with the marketing assets of the customer, whether it's email, SMS, whatever the channel is. And we, in essence, basically run experiments in the platform where what it is doing is it's recursively learning what is the right combination of attributes of the customer with the right kinds of messages. And basically, we do it in this closed-loop fashion. And what it allows us to do is test and learn and understand the efficacy of what is the best treatment for the best customer that drives the KPI. And in this case, that KPI is retention. So what did we do from a campaign standpoint? Basically, a client said, let's take early onboarding customers because we know that onboarding customers have the highest likelihood of churn. And so we isolated customers that had less than 60 days of tenure. And we basically ran initially an SMS campaign. And this basically shows you, the beauty of SMS is you can run a lot of parameterized tests. So all these were variables of tests that we ran. We created over 120 different combinations. We also ran an email where we were running different types of, these were dynamic emails that we generated that we could play around with. So then, what were the results? Now the trick here was normally when we run the recursive tests in the platform, we were actually optimizing at an individual customer level, a personalized level. But in this case, the client wanted to understand what was the social impact of that. So what we did was we basically set up a different kind of experimental design within the platform. We basically created like treatment and control group clusters of people, and then we marketed to the focal, the people in red or dark blue, and we measured the impact across that entire cluster. And what were the results we got? From an engagement standpoint, we saw a 35% increase in engagement of the targets, but we also saw a 10% increase in their friends who weren't targeted in terms of engagement. That basically translated to about a 29% retention lift for the people we treated, and we translated that to about 85 cents of additional revenue from their contacts. So overall, the client asked us what was the effect of the ripple effect. We actually estimated that it's about 1.28 multiplier, which means if a customer we targeted generated $10 of incremental revenue, everyone in their group would generate $2.8. Thank you.
Thank you. Impressive. 2 minutes.